be put on the plane. That's on record. I mean, the government runs the terrorists. It's the foreign banks that have hijacked America, and the TV shows all of it selling you a terror threat that doesn't exist. Honeybees are far more deadly than terrorists. We'll be right back. Okay, the incredible moment, the great alignment of the planets is going to happen in 30 minutes. We're going to see real men out there running into each other and trying to put a pigskin across the yard line. That's what's important, and we're going to be discussing that. No, look, here's the deal. I might even go to a football game occasionally if our country wasn't in such dire straits. I want to be clear about that. Now, I will cover the rest of the news in the next segment. And then I will go to your phone calls for the last 45 minutes of the show today. I want to give first-time callers a chance here on the Sunday show because we can, take thousands of calls here, and I love hearing callers that are able to get to on a routine basis. But I don't screen your calls, so sometimes I do notice a few of the same people there, which is great, but I want to give others a chance. Am I wrong in the direction I'm taking the broadcast? Is it wrong that I'm upset about melamine in the food or mercury and lead in the soft drinks at high levels? Am I wrong when CNBC says mercury is good for kids? We shouldn't be upset about it. I have that clip. You can just type it into YouTube and find it. Or when I have news across the country saying mercury is good for your brain. Maybe I am the crazy person. Maybe I am the bad man. I read all these government documents where they put additives in the plastic to feminize men and hyperfeminize women, where the women end up getting breast cancer early and the men are basically women. The women are Amazons who grow taller, live less, lifespans. I mean, that's the new system. You have little bitty men, these big giant women, I guess house slaves for the New World Order. I guess that's just a re-uptake on what the Romans did and then what plantations did here in the United States. It's very, very sad. The more I learn about anthropology, sociology, psychology, through the lens of the globalist master architects, I can just see they've taken all their old slave systems and added on top of them. I haven't even gotten to the fact that terrorism is a giant hoax and that it's basically a psychological compulsion or a hypnotic suggestion, compulsion to where just the entire culture is just every show, cop show, terrorists are everywhere, and people are now blurring that with reality. And that's why I see newscasts of police running checkpoints randomly with the TSA jerking families out, and they're acting like every car has like 85-foot cobras breathing fire in them. Because the cops believe the world is a TV show. They just believe the total mass delusion. So I'm going to open the phones up, and we go to break here in a moment and come back. I'm going to give the number out for everybody, but that's when the phones are going to open up. And I want to hear from the full audience, but the phones are not open yet. And I want to hear from you on all the subjects I've raised. There's another psychological warfare tactic here where they hype Iraq war for so many years. When it finally happens, even though you're against it and know they're lying about WMDs, you're like, hurry up and get it over with. It's kind of like a few times in school, I'd have the bully in my last period class with me saying, I'm going to beat you up after school. And after a while, you're like, well, I can't wait for the bell to ring for this to happen. I mean, I remember a few times being, I guess, in the lunchroom a few periods before school ended, or one time the guy was in my math class, last class I had of the day. I guess both times were in 7th grade or maybe 8th grade. And I was just, I remember even though the kid had flunked in one case like 3 grades, it was a lot bigger than me, he'd been threatening me at lunch. I was kind of scared, but I was tired of the day taking so long. I was like, hurry up. Then I was kind of happy to go out behind the school. By the end of it, I was finding him. And it's the same psychological thing that they always hype it and hype it and hype it and hype it, so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Again, that's a psychological warfare tactic, a self-fulfilling prophecy where you just expect it to happen, and so you almost acquiesce to it. And I knew that was one of their psychological warfare tactics about a decade ago, looked it up in psychology, and actually found it was one of their tactics.
Hi, this is Alex Jones. Did you know that the global...
Oh, the troops are dying at the DU, and they just bury them real quiet because they're patriotic, and trying to save the troops is unpatriotic because I'm the bad man. I'm on my YouTube channel with 180 million views on just one of our channels, and YouTube, of course, has hijacked it with all their messages about the Super Bowl that's now the Groper Bowl. But here's the deal. I want to open the phones up after this segment for the entirety of the rest of the second hour today. If you're just joining us, I'm Alex Jones, your host, here every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, back weekdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're on an over 100 AM and FMs now, weekday show, over 60 on the Sunday show, and simulcast on XM 166 weekdays, live. And, of course, you can always listen to the free streams at Infowars.com. The free podcast is uploaded every day in the listen section of Infowars.com and Prisonplanet.com. And, of course, you can watch at Prisonplanet.tv. Okay, let me just do this. Let me just tell you some of what's coming up after I get to calls. Hitler would have loved the singularity. Mind-blowing benefits of merging human brains and computers. And that's a Daily Mail story. Politico, it's Romney versus Paul in Maine. Ron Paul's focus on delegates, not must-win states. Wall Street Journal, getting into that. Occupy Austin evicted. I happened to be downtown last night at a business meeting. I walk out of the restaurant, and here's Occupy marching, protesting. There were more police than occupiers. Continuing here, Iranian warships dock at Saudi port. UN wants world tax to help the poor. And again, our story went all over the web Friday, but it was, and then I saw comments on some neocon blogs that reposted our article saying Jones is making this up. The third paragraph is a link to the UN and to the Desert News, mainstream news, with the headline, UN leaders consider world tax to fund social protection services. Oh, you got to help women with the UN raping forces. I mean, every UN peacekeeping force out there is known for kidnapping kids, you name it. I mean, they have the worst record out there. But it's for the women and children. We need a global tax and global regulations and a global court run by the big mega banks that have bankrupted all your countries through derivatives. And then even on my own website, but then even on other big neocon sites where they post my articles, they post our articles, and then they call us liars. I mean, there is a world government. It's unelected. It's out of control. And its goal is hegemonic control so that once it's got that control, to reduce our population. I mean, that's Sunday Times of London headline. Elite meet in secret to discuss overpopulation. And then it's Ted Turner, George Soros, the Rockefellers, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all saying world government and forced sterilization. And they're doing it through the food and water and think it's funny. And then run around how they're philanthropists all day. It's frustrating. Now, here's the toll-free number to join us. It's different than the weekday number. And we're going to open the phones now. 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX. First-time callers, 877-789-2539. First-time callers today. I want to give everybody a chance to get involved on air with us here. So again, I want to hear from you on all the issues I've covered. Now, here's my problem. I don't just say I'm going to come on the radio show and give you proof that government is preparing and selling, and think tanks are preparing and selling, staged terror attacks in America and Europe and Israel to blame domestic groups and tie the domestic groups and claim that right-wingers work with al-Qaeda, which is like saying the Ku Klux Klan works with the NAACP. I mean, it is. It's like saying oil and water mix. No, they don't. This is the type of ridiculousness that we deal with. So I did a little bit of pulling up old articles today before I got into this. And we have videos. We have links to all this in the articles. If you're a new listener, don't just think, oh, this is wild. Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction. Write this down and go look it up. Clintonite, Obama needs Oklahoma City bombing to reconnect with American people. And that was on Chris Matthews, he said that. Former Clinton Knight and Deputy Operative, Democratic Operative Mark Penn. And we've got all the quotes about how much a terror attack would help them. Then they put out fundraising letters saying the attack's coming soon, and we're going to blame it on the Ron Paul people. Okay? Now continuing, here's another one. U.S. Intel Director prepares public for false flag event. Now, this is just from February 1st, a few days ago. Infowars.com, Tony Cartolucci. See, we have writers who live in the real world, so they actually read what the CFR, Brookings Institution, and RAND Corporation say, because they actually write the papers that are then adopted by the Pentagon and by the White House. And then they have the quotes here. You might want to go read them, where they say, we need to have a provocation, whatever it takes, to say that Iran attacked us. That's what we need to get this new war launched and sell us to the public. Now, that's on pages 84 and 85 of Which Path to Persia. That's Brookings Institute. We've got the same documents, same statements by CFR, RAND Corporation. They're all in this article. I mean, just dozens of links to them saying it, video, all of it. Now, Clapper goes on, the head of the national security for Obama. Clapper is in here saying the same thing. It would be far more preferable the United States could cite as an Iranian provocation as justification for the airstrikes before launching them. Clearly, the more outrageous, the more deadly, and the more unprovoked the Iranian action, the better off the United States would be. I mean, this is all thinly veiled, but I thought I would go further before I got back into that. Here's Kurt's latest article today. U.S. and Israel set stage for false flag attack on Iran. Days after Clapper puts out this report saying we need a big provocation, we need to be hit and hit hard, he comes out publicly, not in a white paper to the insiders that's public, but they think we're animals and don't read it. Are you an animal? Do you read what they say? And he says, oh, my gosh, Al-Qaeda with Iran, of course, the two groups are opposite and hate each other, Shiite and Wahhabist, are going to hit America, and we got to give all our rights up. And Iran's going to hit us preemptively. Yeah, exactly what Iran wants is to be attacked. That's why they've let Israel, the U.S., and England blow up power plants, military bases, generals, police stations, and dams, and launch Stuxnet attacks. Iran has laid there and taken it all. But now, oh my gosh, they're going to blow stuff up here. Oh yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. But again, they know it's childlike football heads who are like, blow up Iran, get them Arabs. They're not even Arabs. I mean, they know that. And of course, it's all going to be used domestically to take your liberties as well. All this anti-terror stuff you're told that, that's for Muslims or whatever, it's all about gun owners, conservatives, and libertarians. Those documents have come out, and in all the new movies, product placement, movies like Source Code, it's blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys with American flags with nukes blowing up Chicago. Law-abiding citizens, same thing. Every movie I see that's action now, the bad guy. And Homeland Security's running TV ads where all the terrorists in more than 20 different variants are white guys with minorities reporting them. The point is, it's a rollout. It's branding. They're branding everything off of Al-Qaeda to the John Deere cap wearers. And in the drills, I've been to the urban warfare drills. It's guys in John Deere hats. It's not about Muslims. You're trained as tribalists that we're taking the rights because of the Muslims. You're like, good, kill them all. The good old boys are parking lot and all the racial terms that they're allowed to use on talk radio. Can't use any other racial or religious slurs, but you can use those. It's all for you, idiot. The drones, all of it. Homeland Security, all of it. Homeland Security is run by foreign banks that hate the Second Amendment and hate America and hate freedom. And they know how to manipulate you into giving up your own rights. They hold up sock puppet Al-Qaeda, they control on record, who they've given Libya and everywhere else, and then you basically slit your wrist and say, take my birthright of freedom because I love hating Muslims when you're the target.